Hi, this is Brian Goncher with Deloitte. I'm interviewing Jen Pahlka, the founder, CEO of Code for America. And Jen, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So this is about being a visionary and a Visionary Award tonight. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about your background and sort of your career. What inspired you and how did you get your start? And we'll talk a little bit more about Code of America in a few minutes.
Okay, great, yeah. Well, I've been in tech for a long time, but I'm not a programmer. I was in technology media, and actually in the video game world from sort of the mid-90s into the early 2000s. And
So you're a slacker, basically.
it was a very busy time, I will have you know. But from there, I went to working on this idea of Web 2.0. And really, we just had the idea that these principles and values of a participatory web had a lot of relevance to something that wasn't working very well, which is government.
Right, right. And so how did that all start? Tell us a little about that first intuition and what you did about it and what area did you begin, thank you, what area did you begin with when you first thought of Code for America and how does that changed over time?
Well, I was working on an event that started in 2003 called Web 2.0. It was the event that coined the term. And these were these ideas of a web that people participate in power of the people, which has a lot of resonance for government. And in about 2008, we realized that there was already an effect from that kind of new participation on the internet on politics because when Barack Obama was elected president, everyone said the internet had elected him. And we said, well, if the internet can elect him, is it going to help him govern better? Is it going to bring back this idea of we the people? And we were working on a conference about government technology that was really designed to say, how would you bring the principles and values of the web into governing? And I got the idea to do Code for America because we were writing about this idea of Gov 2.0, a sort of variant of Web 2.0, and a friend of mine who works in local government came to me. He was the chief of staff for the mayor of Tucson. And he said, I love Web 2.0, but how you get your Web 2.0 developers and designers to do apps for government? And at the time, I said, no one's going to do that because there's so much exciting going on in the web. And then we had this idea based on Teach for America, where you have some of the brightest graduates from college choosing not to go into banking or another more lucrative career, but to serve their country and do good and give back. They're choosing to go into teaching. And we said, I think some of the brightest minds in the tech industry will choose to do a year to give back to make government better. And that's how we really got started.
So most people doing the coding would be there for a short period of time and then go back to their careers, or is this something they can do for an extended period of time and remain in Code for America?
Well, so our roots are in asking people to come for 1 year. And we still do that. And we get amazing people, mid-career technologists and designers. So it's not just people right out of college. It's people who've been working at Google or Apple for 8, 9, 10 years. Now, though, because we've done so many experiments with local government, and we've had so many great apps that we've built and great programs, a lot of those are graduating into programs that scale. And then we're hiring, more full-time staff. So we've got people who come for a year, but we've got a bunch more people who come and stay and roll out these apps and these programs to not just one city or one county, but like with our food stamps app that we're about to roll out to every California county.
Wow, wow. That sounds like a very big project. Tell me a little bit about how, when you approach someone who thinks they're interested in Code for America, what's the pitch to them? What is it that gets them motivated and has them join?
Well, I think a lot of people are frustrated with government, and frustration can be a great motivation. But I also want to tap into the motivations of people who are truly patriotic. I mean, I'm wearing red, white, and blue today because I think people do believe in this country, and they believe that with all of the talent and all the great ideas and all the great execution, we should be able to make this work. They've done this study about millennials, and they say that millennials are certainly frustrated with government, but millennials more than any other demographic believe that government will work when they're in charge, when they're doing it their way, which is the hacker way, which is the play with it way, like make stuff work. So, my pitch really is, do you think our country is on the right track? And do you think that when we pass a law or a proposition or create a policy, that we're implementing it. And if people say, oh, sure, of course, like, okay, well, you're not our person. But if you say, no, there's so much more that we could do to really reflect the will of the people, to really make these things work, and I'd be willing to help. That's our person, because they're digging in and saying, hey, we the people, that's not just voting. That's not just this one thing you do once a year. We the people is something we got to do all the time. And we got to think about our careers as certainly we're going to work in the private sector. Certainly we're going to build these platforms that have made Silicon Valley famous and have made billions of people, come to Silicon Valley, apps and platforms. We also need to make sure that tech careers include time working in public institutions, because that's where we learn how this works, and that's how we're going to make it work.
Perfect. One last question is, you've had a great career in games and those conferences and some of the things you did in media. How does that inform what you do today, and do you see any part of what people sometimes refer to as gamification or game-like attributes as part of what you do in Code for America?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything that I saw people in games or Web 2.0 doing has applications in government. I think the thing that's most applicable, though, is what, I would say the sort of brilliance and audacity of developers saying, I'm going to build this platform or this world, and people are going to come live it, and then they do. I mean, there's just a genius of imagination. But I think the practical thing that I would pull over from my work in media is that the platforms that we use today, social media or otherwise, are built on a user-centered, iterative, and data-driven approach. They evolved over time with the input of users. And we very explicitly bring that thinking into government, and it's transformative. It actually makes everything work better.
Thank you so much for spending time with us, and congratulations on being a visionary and receiving your award today, and I hope you can join us again sometime.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.